again, I appreciate you guys' support. So to get into this video, I wanted to do another quick video to keep you guys up to date on what's happening. And again, it's a lot of information that's out there, a lot of new stuff that's surfacing. We see that Trump gave the governors permission to basically open up when they want to. A lot of them are holding back. They keep scrambling the numbers because you have data coming out saying that the heat will basically eat up the virus, then people saying it's not. You have governors saying they're going to open, but then they're saying, well, the data shows that if we do open, the numbers are going to go up, so they're postponing stuff. And you got to pay attention. And one of the things I want to first get into in this video is just history. You guys know how I am about history and how I get into things to connect the dots. And this isn't, the first major American catastrophe. Of course, we had the Great Depression, and that's what a lot of people in the media is equating this to, the Great Depression. And you have to go back and look at what happened during that time and understand that they were trying to cripple the economy to make the American people more dependent on the banking system, so that they can basically sign over their entire country to the bankers, and they can own it and hold it as collateral on the money they loan to the people, which we know they did. So going back to that time, we know that the banks, basically failed, and all those smaller banks got consumed later by larger banks. And then you had many central banks pop up, all branching from the Federal Reserve. So the purpose of that was, one, once they crippled the economy and once the stock market crashed, you had a lot of businesses go under. Now remember, people were living in poverty. They had welfare was rampant, especially in the Black communities, and it was something that you didn't see in the white communities, where they were signing up for welfare until the Great Depression, and they had to sign up to get benefits. A lot of people was going under, but the main purpose for that was to get companies that had promise, that had a future, that was going to be doing something later great and be in competition to any of the companies that the powers that be own. So what they wanted to do was basically get those companies under their umbrella, either get them to join, or get them to basically sell, or get them to go bankrupt to where they can come in and take over, or force the people to sell because of financial issues. So once that happened, you had a lot of companies back then come under the umbrella of the powers that be, of the major companies, and they grew. It was a matter of trust, because now it's like, we're trusting you to come in and invest in our company and take it to the next level out of this Great Depression. And they did so. They wasn't looking at it from a standpoint of, you're a white company and it's a good look and we want to show white domination. They was looking at it as, I'm dealing with another white business person, so this is strictly from a standpoint of business. So business-wise, what are you going to do? How is this going to work? And once they seen that these banks basically had their best interests as far as them growing as a corporation, they gave in. And then more companies started to follow as they seen the progress and the growth of all the other companies basically being made whole because they were bailed out. And they began to grow the economy, which later we know laws were put in place. The Constitution was basically rewritten in the 1930s. And people went from sovereign to basically citizens of the corporation of the United States, as I talk about in videos. But the point of that is to understand that this was first done to take away liberties from the people and to basically gain more control and to basically access and have more assets under their umbrella by taking over these businesses that was doing well. So once they did that and they had these businesses taken over and under their umbrella, they began to basically privatize a lot of the country and a lot of the corporations. And we've seen the liberties of the people basically fail and or fall, I should say. And we had a different America at this point. So into context with what's happening today, we got to look at it and see it's the same thing. So now with 5G coming, you have to understand what that's going to entail. And a lot of people don't get, I tried to put it as clear as day in the previous videos of how this is going to change. And it's going to make more sense in this video of what has to take place and one of the reasons why it's taken so long. So as I talked about with net neutrality, you're going to have one, the all of the companies that use the internet to run their company. So it doesn't matter if you're a hair salon and your workers have to log in, and you have a site that you use that's specifically for your workers to log in and the password and update or so on and so forth. Like if you ever worked at Walmart, they have a whole little online thing where you have your profile page and everything is right there, unique to that specific worker on your login for Walmart. A lot of corporations and companies have that. So it's going to be up to these companies now, small or big, anybody that's really using the internet to run their company, to have trust in 5G and then people that's running 5G to give full access over to these people to basically have control and full access over their company and their systems. So, and that's a major part of it. We've seen with the Great Depression, after that was over, there was a different America. Everything was different, everything changed. So we're talking about, if you can't even fathom during the Great Depression, we're going through what we're going through now, where, you're lucky enough to have a house, you're in your home, you still have access to the internet. They're not evicting you. A lot of people are not really going hungry. There's a lot of shelters. There's churches as well that's giving out free food. So it was the same back then. They have, soup kitchens and so on and so forth. But as far as, entertainment aspect of it and just being able to, be a little bit more secure and feel more secure today, is a lot different. During the Great Depression, like people literally starved to death. People literally lost everything, and a lot of people was just done. They wasn't made whole. There wasn't no stimulus checks given out to people to basically, make them whole, because, the money was basically done. So the country was different. A lot of people lost faith in the government. A lot of people was relying on the government at the same time. So it was a different time. It was just, a huge issue for the country facing the Great Depression. And it's a huge issue for us now that we have to go through now because of what's happening with this whole coronavirus. So getting into that whole thing, the coronavirus, because now, as I said before, they're not going to waste an opportunity. It's just something that they don't do. They're not going to waste an opportunity to do anything that's going to help them further their agenda. And one of the things we know that they want to do is get rid of as many black men as possible. So we remember in the beginning when they was first talking about the coronavirus and people had the whole memes of how it's not affecting black people. And then you came out with the basketball players talking about how they have coronavirus. Then black celebrities started to pop up with the virus, and to show you clear as day that black people can get the virus, and this is something that can happen to black people because it was already in their plans that this was going to kill off a lot of black men, because they specifically were showing black men being affected by this, and a lot of people didn't know, what to make of it. Heads or tails. Was it just, them trying to push the virus as something that's bigger than what it is, or what was the whole meaning behind that? But what they are not really reporting, as much as they're reporting on everything else, is the amount of black people that's being found dead in their homes, in their beds, in their offices. A lot of people are dying from this virus, this self-detoxification, I should say, because of the diets that we have as black people. That's what they want to blame it on. But again, talked about the chemtrails. If you guys seen the previous video, of course, you understand what that whole thing is about, and that is the chemtrails that is basically triggering your self-detoxification process within the body, causing a massive buildup of mucus within the body, which is making a lot of people sick. So talked about how my best friend was in the hospital. They said he had coronavirus. He's fully recovered now. He's doing well. But my sister, she lost her sense of smell for a couple of days, my twin sister. She lost her sense of smell for a couple of days. She went and got tested, and they said she had coronavirus. She didn't have any other symptoms. She just couldn't smell anything for like a couple of days. So this is common with the flu. This is common with influenza. It's like when you get, not the full brunt of the flu, and you just have certain symptoms. And there's a lot of people that's reporting the same thing, where they have a loss of sense of smell. But if you go and read on that, they're telling you that the people that's basically coming in with a loss of sense of smell, they're telling them they have coronavirus and basically telling them to self-quarantine, which is what they told my sister, to self-quarantine. And she was taking the herbs and everything I told her to take, and she was taking medicine and making sure she did all she could, to get back to normal, which she did. But understand, as I talked about in the previous video, if you guys are feeling sick from any of this, you should probably stay home. Any type of cold you may have had in the past, you were able to beat it in the house. It's the same thing. And again, like, you guys should be daily fighting a cold, even if you don't have it. You should be waking up drinking tea. You should be waking up drinking hot lemon water, sea moss, anything you can that's herbal. It's not going to hurt you, especially the tea. In the morning, get up, take it, clear out any mucus you may have, and basically get some sun. Get out there, get some sun, get in the sun, and come back in. Don't be out there too long. And this is something that they are spraying up very high. You don't even see the trails no more because they go up really high now and spray. And this is what's, again, triggering this disease in a lot of people. So you have a lot of people that work in the healthcare industry that's been calling this stuff out and talking about the men, black men that have been dying from the disease. And as I said, they're not going to waste an opportunity. So if you look in Africa, the entire continent of Africa, there have only been about 1,760 deaths. That's it. It's about 40,000 people infected, only 1,700 people died in the entire continent. If you look at the numbers in the countries that have, a lot of white people, they report as the highest numbers of cases of coronavirus in those countries, like South Africa, Algeria and Morocco and stuff like that. They have higher numbers, and that's for a reason, so they could try to make it as if this is something that's not, made to affect black people. But in Africa, they already reported in a lot of countries that, it's no coronavirus, and it's not the way it is in other countries. But for some reason in America, you have this reporting of, it being worse for African Americans and it affecting African Americans more than anybody else. Beyonce came out and put a video about it, and that should throw a red flag right there. And then media keeps talking about it, and a lot of people are already just pounding it home about African Americans. And then you have certain media outlets blaming our diet, African Americans, anybody trying to, oppress them from eating vegetables and eating healthy foods. It's their fault. They've been eating foods, and coronavirus is more susceptible to people with obesity and that are overweight and have chronic health issues. So black people, since we have diabetes and so on and so forth, we are more likely to get it. And my twin sister, she's diabetic. So, them telling her she had it, me looking at it as if, well, they asked her first, did she have diabetes or any underlying illnesses, which she said, yeah. And they just say, you got coronavirus, stay home and fight it. So they're going to tell you that regardless of what you have. If you come to them with any type of issues medically, they're just going to say you got it. So they're trying to put that blame on us as saying it's because of our diets and our eating habits. But this is part of the plan, one, to get rid of large amounts of African Americans, black men specifically, because that's who they want to get rid of, not so much black women. And they're doing so with this. And this is something they can use to blame on the virus and just say, well, they didn't pay attention. They already was eating unhealthy. And now we told them to stay in the house. They've been coming outside. So it's not a coincidence they open up Atlanta, open up down to Florida, Chicago, predominantly black cities, using them as guinea pigs to go out there. And you see it, the videos, how they're acting and throwing parties and house parties and everything, celebrating. So the numbers can be consistent with the actions of African Americans, and then they can point the cameras and say, see, we told them to stay in the house. We told them it wasn't a good idea, yet they went out there. And that should be a red flag to anybody that's black anyway. The fact that they opened up these specific, predominantly black cities and said, okay, we're going to open up the Chinese stores and open up the little corner stores that y'all like to go to and the places y'all go buy y'all food, so y'all can go out there and stand in long lines to buy crabs and seafood and so on and so forth, and basically forget about the virus while they basically spraying the inner cities, and more people are contracting the the sickness. I shouldn't say contracting, or, basically manifesting it within themselves because of the toxins within the chemtrails. So you're having this happen, and you're having a lot of reports of people just dying at home. So I don't know if you guys seen this report from Al Jazeera. They was talking about here where you had a father, his son. The father basically went to 3 hospitals complaining about his symptoms, and they basically turned him away, I guess probably due to insurance or whatever it was. And he basically died at home in his chair. He's telling them, hey, I'm sick, I think I have coronavirus, I need to help me out. And they denied him, and he ended up dying at home in his chair. Probably a few hours later, his son also died, at home of coronavirus. So you're seeing cases like this pop up. You're seeing videos from a lot of black nurses and people that work in the hospital saying that you have a lot of black men coming in sick with the virus, and a lot of black men dying from it. As I showed you, my best friend, who's a black man, also came in the hospital. He had the symptoms. He had pneumonia, what it was. But as I said, it's triggering that mucus buildup within the body that they're calling coronavirus. But this is done deliberately to make you self-detoxify and to trigger all of this mucus and to trigger these symptoms within you, and you don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be unique to you. Everybody's body is different. What they know is you're going to have some type of negative effect. And I'm seeing videos, they show bodies in New York. There was one woman who put out a video that her friend worked in a New York hospital, and they're saying they're just leaving people in the rooms to die. And that's why the numbers are going up so crazy in New York. They're not giving them respirators, and people are pounding on the door, and they're getting, a cold blue calls that they're just ignoring, when it comes to black people, or when it just comes to anybody, letting them die and letting the numbers skyrocket. So, you guys gotta take this seriously, as they're saying. And I'm telling you to take it seriously from the point that there are people dying, because what you gotta understand is this: they gotta get their numbers from somewhere. They got to be able to have these accounts of real people giving you guys accounts of people dying. They need that. It's not going to be from white people. They're not going to have them dying like that. So they're going to make sure that they have people dying to make it look more real. And who better than black men for them? So they're picking us, and they're killing us off. And they know we're going to be the most defiant. We're going to be out there running around doing what we got to do. And we outside, they know we drug dealers. Black men is going to be out there trapping. They're not going to stop trapping. They're going to be out there hustling. They're doing what they got to do because they don't have a regular job. So even if they was working anyway, they don't have a job. A lot of dudes is out there trapping anyway. And this is the element they want to get rid of. So again, we got to go back and look at this, because they tell you everything that they're going to do. So let's go to The Purge. Plain and simple. It's not a coincidence that you get these movies called The Purge. And you pay attention to even the first Purge movie. The dude was a black guy. It's a black homeless guy. And they're showing you what? This time during the year, it's Purge. You have people lock themselves in their homes, quarantine, until the Purge is over. The Purge in that first one was a black man. And then you see the new movie. It was all black people on there. They're telling you exactly what they're doing. It's the Purge. They want to get rid of the elderly and the poor. Plain and simple, the homeless. It's the same thing that's consistent with Hitler, as I talked about in an earlier video. It's the same stuff as Nazi Germany that we're seeing, the same terminology, essential workers. All this stuff is the same. Elderly people dying, sick people dying. They want to get rid of these people, and they're using this to do so. So while we're not seeing a super cry out of black people, dying from this, and I don't know if by now, if any of you guys know somebody that has the virus, I now know of 3 people who I know. Before I was saying, well, damn, I don't know nobody who got it. Now I know of 3 people who have been sick and told that they had coronavirus. So it's something you got to take seriously. If it's nobody who you do know, that's good. If it's not really affecting your family or something that you're seeing yet pop up, then that's good. But you got to understand, it is happening and it is affecting black people. So now it says here, we know that COVID-19 is killing African Americans at greater rates than any other group. You can see this most clearly in the South. In Louisiana, blacks account for 70% of the deaths, but 33% of the population. In Alabama, they account for 44% of the deaths and 26% of the population. Think about that. South Carolina and Georgia have yet to release information on death disparities, but in both states, blacks are more likely to be infected than whites. The pattern exists in the North as well, where African American populations in cities like Chicago and Milwaukee have high infection and death rates. Federal officials have tied these disparities to individual behavior. The Surgeon General of the United States, Jerome Adams, who is African American, urged blacks and other communities of color to avoid alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. Think about that. As if this was a particular problem for those groups. In truth, black susceptibility to infection and death in the coronavirus pandemic has everything to do with the racial character of inequality in the United States. And it says down here, showing you the crosses as representing people that died. To give just a few relevant examples, black Americans are more likely to work in severe sector jobs